Welcome to Cooking Caribbean. On today's show, we visit Guyana on the South American mainland, and we get to sample the cuisine from some of the earliest inhabitants of the region, the Caribs and the Arawaks. Today, Guyana is an ultra-modern city with splendid landmarks like the Starbrook Market, the magnificent Parliament Building, and churches like the St. George's Cathedral, the tallest wooden building in the world. Although archaeologists say that the inhabitants of the Caribbean islands date back to 5,000 years, written records of the Amerindians begin from 1492 when Christopher Columbus landed on the islands. The Caribs were described as fierce, warlike hunters, while the Arawaks as peace-loving agricultural people. Rivers have always been important to the Guyanese people then and now as a means of transportation, some of which carry Amerindian names like the Rupununi and Kaita Falls, which is 5 times taller than the Niagara Falls. According to legend, the Arawak chief Tenkai threw himself over these falls as a sacrifice to the spirit Makunaima to save his people from the fierce Caribs. Villages of Amerindians can still be found today in Guyana, where they continue to practice their traditions and customs. The region's first inhabitants left many legacies, one of them being their most important food crop, cassava. Known as manioc or yuca, the cassava root was the staple diet for the Amerindians. Cassava was and still is prepared in many ways. One tradition which lives on today is cassava bread. To make cassava bread, the brown outer skin of the cassava root is first peeled away to reveal its hard white interior. This is then carefully washed to remove any remaining dirt from the root. Using a traditional grater, the cassava is then grated, becoming a coarse pulp. The coarse pulp is then filled into a kulev, exactly as the Amerindians would have done centuries ago. This kulev is made from reeds found in the forest. The natural elasticity of the kulev automatically extracts the juice from the grated cassava. With a little help, the grated cassava is squeezed almost to dry. The process is repeated several times, packing the grated each time to extract as much liquid as possible. It is then broken up and separated in a sieve, made from the same material as the cooler. This gets rid of all the lumps and produces cassava flour. Fires are lit on earthen firesides and metal baking sheets put to get hot. A mold is placed on the hot baking sheet and some cassava flour poured into the mold and leveled. Once set, the mold is removed and the flour is again leveled and any excess flour taken out. The remaining flour is then part solid and left to cook, while another is prepared. As the flour cooks, the cassava bread is constantly turned to prevent it from sticking to the hot baking sheet and overcooking on any one side. As the bread cooks, the fire's temperature is carefully monitored. When the breads are firm and crispy, they are done and taken off the heat. The juice from the cassava root was also very important to the Caribs and the Arawaks. Though poisonous, the toxins are removed when boiled. Called cassaripe by the Amerindians, this natural preservative is an excellent alternative to refrigeration for the people who live in the interior of this vast country. Cassaripe, because of its preservative qualities, also serves as the base for another exotic Amerindian dish, pepper pot. Although pepper pot was an Amerindian dish, it is today a national dish in Guyana. It is prepared in most homes and more so by people with Amerindian backgrounds and who have over the years intermarried. Today's pepper pot is made with pig's feet. However, a variety of meats can be used in the same pepper pot. Common choices are oxtail, lamb, cow heel, and any hard, bony edible part of an animal. The meat is first cut into bite-sized pieces and then set aside while an open fire is started. The smoke and wood fire lends a unique flavor to most Caribbean meals, and in the case of a pepper pot, recreate the authentic Amerindian flavor. The cut-up meat is washed, salt is added and then left to soak. Seasonings are cut up: fresh celery, onions and garlic. After a few minutes, the meat is washed and squeezed out. A pot is put on the fire. Water is poured in and left to boil. The washed meat is added to the boiling water. The main ingredient, cassareep, is then poured in. Freshly picked bird peppers are then added to the pot. The pot is stirred to mix all the flavors, covered and left to simmer. After about 10 minutes, seasonings are introduced. Spice, dried orange peel, hot peppers, onions and celery. The pot is covered and left to cook. After about half an hour, the pepper pot is done. Provisions are now prepared as a side dish. Dasheen, the root of the taro plant, is peeled and cut up. Green bananas are also peeled and washed. These are covered in salted boiling water and left to cook. The provisions cook in about 20 minutes. pepper pot was first created by the Amerindians out of the necessity to have a meal which could last without refrigeration. Pepper pot is served at most Guyanese restaurants and homes today. After a spicy pepper pot, a cool drink would be ideal. Coconut palms grow to 20 or 30 feet tall, but sure-footed climbers can easily pick them, which are then skillfully cut open. There's nothing better than a fresh coconut water. Well, that's all on our show for today. Be viewing our next episode of Cooking Caribbean when we share another culinary delight. Bye for now.